Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Adi Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where I feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, optimize, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And today's guest, I'm very excited, is Natalie Standridge. Hi, Natalie.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
You are very welcome. Thank you for being a guest on the podcast. So, Natalie, we met through EO at the Women's Summit in Montreal, and we actually ended up sitting next to each other in a dinner that was very special, and we had a great conversation. And you told me about your business and what you do, and it was so exciting because, and I'm going to explain why, because I'm going to give you a bio, but what you're doing for kids. I mean, as a mom, my son is now grown, but I was thinking to myself, I wish I knew about you. Oh, I wish you were there with this, with your business, with your education for children when my son was in that age, because it's so needed. And what you're doing is incredible. It's incredible in terms of the product and what you're delivering, and also with your business model and your franchise, and you're just like extraordinary entrepreneur. So you definitely, I go, okay, you have to be on the System Simplified to inspire others.
So kind. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Well, now I'm going to actually read your bio, right? So you are the founder and CEO of Casa de Corazon. You spent 2 decades building a thriving, mission-driven business that's changing the landscape of early childhood education. And it started as a bilingual, eco-conscious childcare, which you basically did because you needed it for your own kids, right?
Yep.
And it has grown into a movement of safeguarding our children's health and wellness, building intercultural communities, and manifesting opportunities through conscious leadership. So one of your beliefs, what you believe in, is that the best businesses are built by ordinary humans trying to solve a problem that they themselves have. And amen to that. I mean, that's really how I built my own business, because I saw the problem, I saw the need, and and I really believe in it. And I believe that I can make a difference. So that's when you have that belief, and I see it in you as well. Absolutely. So,
awesome.
So we're going to have a great conversation. Hopefully we can inspire parents and educators to understand what's possible, but also entrepreneurs in terms of inspiring them that it can be done.
Wonderful. Yes, it can. I never set out to be an entrepreneur or build a business. I was just trying to solve a problem, and turned out it was a problem that a lot of other parents in my community also had. So it took off.
Absolutely. So let's start with that question: is what happened? What happened at the beginning?
Okay, sure. Yeah. So I was a young mom, a working mom, when I had my first child, and I wanted to raise her bilingual and healthy and in a very conscious way. And so when I started to look for childcare for her in my community, I didn't really find anything that aligned with my values and priorities as a parent. And so since I had studied a related field to early childhood, I studied family social science, and I minored in Spanish. I was bilingual at the time, and I thought, well, maybe I could build this. And what really helped was I was a preschool teacher in a Spanish language school when I first graduated college and started my family. And so I knew what early childhood education licensing looked like. I was already working in a program that was accredited and licensed. And so I thought, well, maybe I could create what it is I look for as a mom. And so I started a program that prioritized language learning from early childhood. So nobody was doing it from the birth to 5 level. All of the bilingual and immersion schools in my community at the time, 23 years ago, were elementary and beyond. So I built an early childhood education program around the language learning, but the other niche that I found really important was the healthy, nutritious foundation for kids and the eco-conscious programming that I didn't see in any of the centers that I toured. And I think that it's a movement. And it's gaining more traction now to be conscious about clean foods and the nutrition that we're providing to our youngest members of our communities, because what we choose for them is creates the foundation for lifelong health and well-being. And I believe that as educators and parents, we have the obligation to safeguard our children's health. And unfortunately, in a lot of the developed world, there needs to be education and responsibility taken for those kinds of choices, because they're not automatic at the grocery store.
That is very true. So elaborate more in terms of the clean food and what were you looking for? And the reason I'm asking, because I'm also into clean food and it's really interests me, so I'm asking you that question.
Yeah, no, I know. We connected on that a little bit too when we met, which was such a cool experience. I guess when I started touring childcare centers, I was a little bit shocked at what they were feeding the children, even from 1 year of age, right? So these little toddlers sitting at these tables were being fed slices of processed pizza, right? With 25 ingredients and preservatives and chicken nuggets, highly processed, like barely any actual nutrition in them. Canned peaches in heavy, high fructose corn syrup, and things that to me weren't real food. And I was thinking, gosh, if this is what these kids are eating from the time that they can eat solid food, what is that doing to their metabolisms and to their health long term, right? And I know that this is a problem in the public schools, but it was happening in privatized childcare as well. So I was pretty shocked, and I realized that if I was going to be bringing my child to a childcare facility that was serving this kind of food, and I wanted to serve nutritious, real food to my daughter, and I wanted to cloth diaper her, do some other natural practices, that I would be spending my evenings preparing food, washing diapers, preparing my child for daycare, when as a working mom, what I wanted to do was spend my evenings bonding with my child. So when I created the program, it was created to be a full service, all needs provided, just as good as what you would expect or provide to your children at home environment, so that working parents could count on us for those things and not have to spend their evenings prepping their child for daycare or worrying about their child's health and well-being and safety. These are the main things that we should be providing as childcare providers and educators.
That's absolutely correct. So, okay, so you started as a mom, you had your kid, your daughter, and then how did you get your other clients? What happened?
Yeah, so I started this program in my home when my daughter was a baby, and just put up flyers around the neighborhood, told people that I knew. And I was just thinking about her today. My very first enrolled child, her name was Aria, and her parents were very aligned with what I was doing, because her mom was from Minnesota, her dad was from Mexico. They wanted to raise her bilingual. And I just met them through some community organizations, and then a few other people in the neighborhood started enrolling their kids. My next door neighbors enrolled they had 3 daughters, and some people a block and a half away, Rudy and Zava. Like, I still remember all of my very first enrolled kids, and it was pretty much all word of mouth. And what made a huge difference was when people would talk about the quality of care that they were receiving in my program to their colleagues, their neighbors, their friends, and especially influential people in the community, like their pediatrician. So when the program became known as a solid foundation for kids, it was really easy to grow it. And when I opened my first center, all of my home daycare kids came with me. And the center then had separate classrooms, right, for the age groups and a full commercial kitchen for making this food from scratch and all the things. And it was still pure word of mouth. I took the waiting list from my home daycare, filled that childcare center within 3 months of opening it. 6 months later, doubled it in size, filled the second half within a matter of 6 weeks from opening the additional classrooms, and then started looking for a second location. And realistically, I didn't do any paid advertising for that second location either. It was
So
really
you really found something that parents needed and wanted. I mean, that was you know, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, and that's the power of creating a business that solves a problem that people have, right? So it
Yeah.
was very differentiated in the market at the time. And the power of that was shown through the way people would talk about it. And when you're looking for something for your children, it's very important to have a personal referral from someone that you trust that says this is a safe place to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Wow. What a great story. Okay. So that was the second location. And then, so how did you start multiplying yourself? Because it was just you in the beginning, right?
Yeah, so it was not until my third location that I realized I couldn't be the center director at all three. Because with two, I was spending the morning at one and the afternoon at the other, and I was at both of them all day, every day, I mean, and I knew every teacher, I hired every teacher, I, had a personal relationship with every single enrolled family. I knew every child's name, every child's allergy, every parent's name. Once it was three, I went, oh gosh, I'm not going to be able to spend a half day at each one. I need to start replicating myself. And as you grow a business, I think one of the hardest parts is giving up the parts that you do, right? And starting to replace yourself in those positions. And the one I've done that multiple times through my stages of growth, but the one that I still miss is the center director position because of what I just said, having those real relationships with every employee and every family. And this is exactly why I started franchising. So to grow a business, there's two paths, right? You can grow multiple locations or duplicate clients, depending on your business model, on your own, or you can use the franchise model, which to me is a way to have other owners and operators that are as passionate as I am about what we're doing on site, having those relationships with families. So that's why I love the franchise business model so much.
That's incredible. How many franchises do you have?
So we have 10 locations total, including both my corporate locations and the franchises open, 2 under development in site selection right now.
Okay. But then you're going to open more locations.
Yeah. I mean, we're on a slow growth model of a couple per year.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Natalie, we are all about systems and processes, and so are you. You are, I think I don't remember who, somebody that knew you introduced me. Oh, you are like the queen of processes and have everything processed and everything systematized. So, yeah, what, you're right. I mean, you can grow a business, multiple locations, or you can grow it through franchise. Sometimes when you have multiple locations, you kind of like call it the franchise model, but it's not really the franchise. But that's the whole concept of being able to multiply yourself because you have good systems. So what is your take on it? Like, how important are systems and processes in growing a business?
So much more important than we want them to be, because they're hard. They're the nitty-gritty of running a business that sometimes are in that world of unwritten rules, right? Where people who have been working here for 8 years, they just know how we've always done it. But when you're going to grow and replicate, you have to have it documented. There is no other way. And so I've heard this said, and I actually 100% agree. Even if you're not going to franchise your business, write your manuals as if you were. Write your manuals as if you were going to hand them off to someone who has never worked in your company, is not related to you in any way, and you were going to let them run with your business model and strategy and way of doing things, because that's how you know that you have created something that is scalable. And so I don't know if I would say queen of processes. That was a bit generous, but I was quoted and referenced in a book in the EOS Traction Library. So EOS is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It is a management system that is becoming more and more popular for companies to run on, that they have a library that starts with the book Traction by Gino Wickman, but also includes a bunch of other books about running and scaling businesses. And one of them is called Process. And I am happy to have participated in the authoring of that book because it talks about how the part of the traction model that people often want to avoid is the process component, because it feels tedious. It feels boring, maybe in a way. But I knew that in order to franchise, I had to have everything written out, everything systematized, everything clear and chunked down for people who were going to be learning this from scratch and didn't want to go through all the blood, sweat, and tears that I went through to build it and make all the mistakes. That's the point of franchising, right? Is we're going to tell you the best path forward so that you don't have to make those same mistakes that I did. And so I pulled together my team, my best people. Wendy Letran has been working for my company for 17 years. She helped build it and make it what it is today. And so she helped me write those first operations manuals that we honed and put together before even launching our FDD and taking it to the franchise.
FDD, for those listeners that don't know what it is.
Yeah, the franchise disclosure document. Okay. So this is the legal agreement, right? And disclosures of everything that you are as a franchise brand. Every franchisor has one that's public.
Absolutely. And you probably also have a system for your curriculum that you developed.
Yes, of course. And that has evolved over time as well. And I'm proud to say that we now have a curriculum that is accredited by the National Association for the Education of Young Children, with all of the kindergarten readiness and developmental objectives, 38 objectives that are, I mean, it's a lot, right? For kids, that we know now that this birth to 5 age group is such an important developmental stage. And so there's a ton of research on what are the best things that we can be doing for those children to expose them to all of the things they need in order to grow that brain and develop and be ready, not just for kindergarten, but for life, right? Kids who go to preschool are more successful long-term, and especially kids who are put in a bilingual or immersion environment. So the accredited curriculum that we adopted meets all of those objectives. But when we adopted that, I wasn't willing to let go of my original dream when I built this for my own children, which was the Spanish immersion, not just language, but cultural immersion, the exposure to interculturality. So we infused the language programming and the cultural immersion, exposing kids to different countries every month of the year, into the NACCE accredited curriculum, so it could be very much ours and very much still meeting those goals that I had as a mom.
That's beautiful. So it's really a purpose-driven company that expanded by using the right tools. And yes, we work with many companies that use EOS, and process is a key component. So we know that having processes in place are very important. You know, now we have automation, you know, so some of the processes can be automated. Do you use a lot of AI in your business?
Absolutely. I think it's essential. It's can't be seen as just a tool. It has to be seen as part of your team at this point. I would love to learn way more about it from you. I know you're such an expert, but yeah, it's a non-negotiable at this point.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So, but even then, having those processes, they have to be in place in order for you to know what to automate. So that's for sure.
Totally.
That is, yeah, it's such a great journey to see how you have, from a dream or from a solution that you needed to find for your own children, what you have built today, this little empire that is just growing. And now your son actually has a business as well. So you succeeded as a mom, entrepreneur, that you basically set a great example for your kids. And now your son has a business.
Thank you. Yes, he's always been an entrepreneurial spirit and, just couldn't really have it any other way. He was destined to own his own business as well, and I'm very proud of him.
That's fantastic. Natalie, if people want to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
Yeah, so they can find me on social media by my name, Natalie Standridge. So just how it sounds, stand and Ridge, Ridge. I am that on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And then the website for my company, both the childcare program and the franchising opportunities, is casaearlylearning.com. So mi casa su casa, CASA, earlylearning.com.
Beautiful. And we will include it in the show notes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast. It's been a fantastic conversation. And well done on everything that you accomplished.
Thank you so much. Oh, I really appreciate you having me on.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.